The cash flow mistake that quietly kills small businesses. It's not overspending. It's not slow sales. The mistake that kills most small businesses is sitting in their unpaid invoices, and it's almost always preventable. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why it happens and the 3-step fix that stops it for good. A US bank study found that 82% of businesses that fail do so because of cash flow problems, not weak sales, not bad ideas. Most of them were profitable on paper. The cash just came in slower than it went out. As a chartered accountant who also runs my own business, I've seen this exact pattern constantly in other people's books and in my own early mistakes. Here's the version of this most founders live. You deliver the work, you send the invoice, and then you wait. 30 days becomes 45. 45 becomes 60. You don't chase too hard because the client is important and you don't want to damage the relationship. Meanwhile, payroll is due on the same date as due every month, whether your clients have paid or not. This isn't a small business problem or struggling business problem. It happens just as often to businesses that are growing fast. Because growth, that means more invoices out at once, more clients on different payment schedules, and more room for a handful of them to quietly slip past their due date without anyone noticing until the account balance forces the issue. Profit is a scoreboard. Cash flow, this is oxygen. You can win on paper and still run out of air. Before you watch the rest of this, pull out your outstanding invoices right now and add up everything more than 30 days due. Keep that number in mind. That number you just added up is bigger than it looks on paper. Let's get into exactly how it quietly drains a business that's genuinely doing well. And stick around for the fix at the end. It's simpler than most founders expect. How unpaid invoices quietly drain a profitable business, even when sales are genuinely good. Most founders think of an unpaid invoice as revenue that's simply running a little late. Money that's theirs, just delayed. In reality, every unpaid invoice is you financing your client's business with your own cash. You've already paid your team, your suppliers, your software bills to deliver that work. The client hasn't paid you back yet. Until they do, you're carrying that cost personally, interest-free, on their timeline, not yours. One invoice like that is manageable, but most founders don't have one. They have a slow drip of them, a few thousand here, a few thousand there, spread across different clients at different stages of lateness. None of them individually feels like an emergency. Added together, they're often the entire gap between a business that feels stable and one that's one bad month away from a payroll scramble. A founder running a $20,000 a month agency with even $15,000 sitting in receivables over 30 days isn't short on revenue. They're short on collected revenue. And those are two completely different problems with two completely different fixes. Picture two founders with identical $20,000 months. The first has every invoice paid within 2 weeks. The second has the same $20,000 invoiced, but $8,000 of it is sitting unpaid past 30 days across 3 different clients. On paper, their P&Ls look identical. In the bank account, one of them can make payroll without thinking about it, and the other is quietly moving money around, delaying a supplier payment, hoping the timing works out. Same revenue, each founder experiencing a completely different month. An unpaid invoice isn't revenue you're just waiting on. It's a loan you didn't agree to give. So list every invoice currently overdue by client name and days late. Sort it from oldest to newest. That list is your chase list for this week. Most founders know in the back of their mind that late invoices are a problem. What they underestimate is exactly how much waiting to chase them actually costs. Real cost of waiting to chase a late invoice, and it's bigger than the invoice itself. Most founders assume the cost of a late invoice is just the invoice amount, sitting there until it eventually gets paid. But the real cost is bigger than that. The longer an invoice sits unpaid, the less likely it is to ever get paid at all. The data on this is consistent. An invoice that's 90 days overdue is dramatically less collectible than one that's 30 days overdue, because the client's own priorities shift. The relationship gets awkward, and chasing starts to feel like starting a fight instead of just sending a reminder. There's a second cost most founders never put a number on: the mental one. Money you're owed but haven't collected sits in the back of your mind differently to money that's actually landed. It's the reason a founder can have a strong month on paper and still lie awake doing math about the account balance. That's not a discipline problem. It's a direct result of treating invoice revenue as if it were the same thing as collected cash when it isn't. And there's a compounding cost. The later you chase, the more awkward the conversation becomes, which makes founders wait even longer, which makes the invoice even harder to collect. It's a loop that gets worse the longer it runs, not better. This is why the founders who stay on top of cash flow aren't necessarily the ones with the strictest payment terms. They are the ones who chase early and chase lightly before it feels like a confrontation. A friendly nudge at day 7 costs nothing and gets paid fast. The same nudge at day 60 feels like an accusation, even when the words might be identical, because by then both sides know the conversation is overdue in more ways than one. The cost of a late invoice isn't the invoice amount. It's what that invoice does to your decisions while you're waiting for it. So pick the single oldest invoice on your chase list from chapter 2 and send the follow-up today before you do anything else on this list. Chasing one invoice fixes one invoice. What actually changes this for good is a habit, and it's a lot simpler than most founders expect. The 3-step fix for chronic late payers and the habit that stops this happening again. 3 things fix most of this, and none of them require difficult conversations with clients you want to keep. Number 1, invoice the moment the work is delivered, not at the end of the month when it's convenient for you. Every day you delay sending an invoice is a day you've added to how long you'll wait to get paid. Number 2, shorten your terms where you can. Net 30 was often set as a default, not a decision. Even moving new clients to net 14 changes your cash position without changing your client relationships. Number 3, build a follow-up rhythm that starts before an invoice is even late. A reminder at day 7, another at day 14, another at day 30. So chasing isn't a hard conversation you're avoiding. It's just a system running in the background. None of these 3 things require new software, a collections agency, or an uncomfortable phone call. Most invoicing tools can schedule these reminders automatically once you set the rule. The discipline is in deciding to turn it on, not in the conversation itself. As a chartered accountant who's also run my own business, this was the mistake I made longest before I fixed it. I told myself I was being relationship first by not chasing hard. What I was actually doing was quietly financing my clients' businesses while stressing about my own. The month I put a simple follow-up rhythm in place, not aggressive, just consistent, was the month my cash position stopped feeling like a mystery. None of this requires new software or finance hire. It requires knowing where every invoice actually stands today and refusing to let any of them go quiet. Chasing a late invoice isn't what damages the relationship. Financing your client's business without telling them strains your business, and ends up damaging relationships in the long run anyway. So set 3 recurring reminders this week: day 7, day 14, day 30, after an invoice goes out. So following up stops depending on you remembering. If you want a fast way to see exactly where your cash position stands before you build any of this out, I've built something for that. I've put this into a free 7-day CEO Cash Audit, so you can see exactly where your cash position stands this week. No spreadsheet building required. Grab it using the link in the description or comment cash below and I'll send it your way. Next week, I'm getting personal. Why I left finance and corporate to fix how founders handle money. Subscribe so you don't miss it.